Thank you very much. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting was provided indicating the time and place the same in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975. Advertising notice in the Star Gazette and the Express Times for posting a copy of the bulletin board in this building. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Here.
Councilman Valcarro.
Here.
Councilwoman McCabe.
Here.
Council President Cheslin.
Here.
Mayor Steinhardt.
Here. I'm told that items number 2 and 3 are going to be off the agenda today in order to get some paperwork done that wasn't done. Which means we got 1, 4, 5, and 6. We have an executive session, I guess, to hold first. We apologize for the inconvenience for those of you who are here. We're trying not to have it last too long, but it's a handful of some contractual matters, a personnel matter. I take that back. No personnel, contract matters. They're all contract matters, and one personnel matter. Okay. So is there a motion to go into executive session?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Folks, we apologize. Probably 15 minutes. Maybe we can make it quicker. We'll try to make it quicker.
Do you have a motion to go out of executive session? Motion. Second? Second. Roll call?
All in favor?
All in
Aye.
favor? Aye. Aye.
Council was in executive session for approximately 40 minutes. Topics of discussion were contractual regarding the police contract, the pump station project, a potential sale of foreclosed properties, personnel, let's see what else. Personnel regarding hiring of a CFO, tax appeals regarding Bellevue Crossing, and I think that's it. COA. And then meeting minutes will be available at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
We have, just as a reminder, number 2 and number 3 are no longer on the agenda. Do we have any comments on the agenda items? None? Okay. Let's go over the first one. Discuss best practices checklist inventory. Who's discussing that? Are you guys or no?
We were asked to come.
Betty. Okay.
Discussing it? So Beth and I and Doug have been working on the best practices inventory, and we came up with a final score of 88%.
Okay.
So we will be receiving all of our funding.
Okay.
And with that, we also I handed all of you a fund balance policy for the township, and also an internal accounting control checklist, and a revenue and expenditure forecast for 2015, is what you can expect from what we know now
Okay.
for your budget.
And all this allows us to check off.
And this,
boxes,
this all
okay.
has to do with putting all these things down in writing and having meetings, documenting them, and answering yes or no, not applicable
Right.
or prospective, but we have enough to receive all of our aid.
Okay, great. Anybody on council have any questions on the best practices? Do you need to vote to approve it, or you just have to discuss it? Okay. Next item is number 4, ordinance 2014-12. It's the first reading to provide funding for the South 3rd Street improvements and appropriating $305,000 for such purpose. All right, the title, no, that's not the right one. Do you have the ordinance? All right, I got it. An ordinance to provide funding for South 3rd Street improvements for the Township of Lopatcong and appropriating $305,000 for such purpose. This is for our improvements here on South 3rd Street, which we received the grant money for, correct?
And we made an appropriation for capital improvement.
Okay. And this is just our first reading, correct?
Correct.
Council have any questions? Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Valcarro?
Yes.
Councilwoman McKay?
Yes.
Council President Chester?
Yes. Number 5, we have a resolution to correct the assessment on block 86.02, lot 15, from $488,100 to $425,000 as recommended by the tax assessor. That was the resolution we didn't get the last meeting. Okay. Anyone have any questions on that? And this is just a correction, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Valcarro?
Yes.
Councilwoman McKay?
Yes.
Council President Chester?
Yes. Number 6 is the Highlands Exemption Determination Program. I believe it's Gary.
Yes, I believe you've received a package indicating an ordinance that has to be passed, well, not have to be passed, but it should be passed for exempting properties basically from impervious cover. The Highlands pretty strictly regulates impervious cover on properties now. One of the problems is when they come before or make applications to the planning board, they now have to go through getting a checklist, complete list from the Highlands itself. It adds more time from 1 to 2 months. Then it comes back and is reviewed by our professionals, and then it's forwarded up to the planning board. Large developments and stuff like that, it's an appropriate way to go. But if someone, a private homeowner in the area, wants to put a deck on or something like that, to make them go through that exercise, and the Highlands allows 7 exemptions to preclude that, they would grant that. What they're doing is they're allowing the municipality to grant that exemption for them, and they don't have to go through the Highlands process. It's granted at the municipal level. So far, we have 5 people trained to do that. To grant the exemption, they have to be approved by the Highlands Council in order to grant that exemption. That's one of them. I'm one of them. And our professionals, George Ritter, Gary DeSantos, and Paul Sterlings, are also certified to do that. So if we adopt this, or if you adopt this, I should say, you would provide a little easier path for people to live in the Highlands area that are existing homeowners. It even extends into the preservation area, that if you own property or a lot in the preservation area, which is really tightly constricted as far as building, we could grant the exemption for a person who owned the property before 2004. I believe it's August of 2004. And they would be able to utilize 1 acre of that property in order to construct a home without going through the Highlands exemption process. Those are just a few examples of what the ordinance does. You can adopt a fee with this. You kind of indicate that maybe you wouldn't want to, since they would have to put a fee in for the checklist as it exists now in order to come before the planning board.
Okay.
That I don't think you want to pile more on top of this, because they do have to do some things. They have to put a deed restriction on their properties when they do this, as far as impervious cover, in case they transfer that property later on. So I would think, unless it comes to it, that you might want to consider not using a fee on it, because it's the local populace. You don't want to keep piling more and more on. The other thing that I would recommend, if you're looking at it, is they give you the option of the people who should be doing this, and I believe that you might want to designate our engineer, the planning board engineer, to review it. He has to review the checklist anyway. He's one of the first people that get it.
Okay.
And in order to expedite the process, he would be the logical person to do it. So you might want to consider that, designating that in the ordinance. Other than that, if you want to adopt this, or if you want to make corrections to it, this is the recommended one from the Highlands Council. You would do it. So the planning board's already indicated back in April or May that when we reviewed the Highlands, what we needed to do going forward, okayed this type of an ordinance, not specifically this one. This one just came out, and we were waiting for that one to come. But
Okay.
if you want to return it to the planning board with additions or corrections, it's your prerogative. So that's what it's all about. So.
Council have any questions? For Gary?
Are we planning on voting on this tonight?
I don't think so.
Okay, then Gary, can I get with you and just talk to you a little bit about this
Sure.
outside?
Absolutely. We'll
Okay.
do it right after the meeting. That's fine.
Okay.
Or you want another time? That's
Yeah,
good too.
exactly. Yeah, I just, there's a lot to read and I'd like to get clarification on some of it. That's
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, that will work, right? Because we have another meeting now. We have to schedule another meeting on the 27th of this month. So maybe we can revisit it then and have any
Absolutely.
changes, and we can talk with you beforehand. Okay,
I was just explaining what it was. And
great. Thank you very much. Is that good? Okay. All right. So now I'll go through the other items that came out of executive. The first thing we have is the township had foreclosed on several properties, and we now own them. Katrina put together a synopsis of each property and what specific action needs to be done on them. Some of them can go right for sale, some of them might need a variance, some we need to offer to the homeowner, the adjacent homeowners first. So what we'd like to do is, yeah, why don't you go through them?
I gave all of you a memo with the information on each piece of property, and then I gave you the maps with everything. Basically, if it's a conforming lot size in the area, we can sell it at auction. If it's a non-conforming lot, meaning it's not big enough, we have to offer it first to the contiguous property owners, but we can set a minimum. And then if it's less than 1/8 of a conforming lot, then you can actually negotiate with adjacent property owners to sell it. So usually what they do there is if it's a tiny little, like we've vacated old roads and we've given half to one side and half to another, and we didn't necessarily charge them to buy it. We were just happy to get it on the tax rolls. And sometimes we charge the cost of engineering, sometimes we just give them a quick claim deed, all of that. So I'm gonna go through a couple of them because most of them are straightforward, but a couple I have questions on. So the first one is 72 Fox Farm Road. That is undersized.
Okay.
So typically what we do is when I go through the whole list, the ones that are undersized, first thing I would do is that I ask you to authorize me to sit down with the assessor and get a fair market value set for each one of these. And then I would go and write a letter to all of the adjacent property owners telling them by this date, if you have any interest in this property, this is the minimum price, please give us your best price.
Okay.
And then those people who are adjacent.
Mhm.
9 times out of 10, we get no response and we have to put it on the list for auction. Some of these properties we've actually gotten a couple calls on. So, for example, this Fox Farm Run touches Merrill Creek, and it's near some other property owners, farmers, hunters who are interested in it. It's a landlocked piece of property right now. It's very close to another piece we foreclosed on. But it's you can't get to it. So, but Merrill Creek might be interested in it, or the adjacent property owners. So that one I would just go and sit with the assessor. Another one of those lots, I'll skip the harder ones. Another one is Belvedere Road. It's listed as Block 2, Lot 18. If you look at the map, it looks like it's in the middle of nowhere. It's a tiny little lane. It is 25 feet by 600 feet. So that one, again, it's probably only Deals, Mannix, or Holtons that would even be interested in it. So we would offer it to them first.
Okay.
And again, we would be offering it with a quick claim deed. They'd be saying, whatever our rights are, we're selling them to you for this price. Let's skip that one. There's another one off of Fox Farm Road. Let me skip that one. That one's a little harder. There's 2 off of Strikers Road. One, it looks like Architects is actually using as a driveway right now, not knowing that it's not theirs and they're not paying taxes on. Another one, a property owner owns both sides of the property, and he adamantly believes that it is his property, but has searched his own search and can't prove that it's his. So both of these are undersized, less than 1/8. So the question, I guess, on these would be, if you want to rely on the assessor to set the value, if she says, if you can offer these up and just get them back on the tax rolls, do it like no minimum value, and then tell all the adjacent property owners what's your best bet. And if someone says $1, would you sell it for $1? Or do you want to set a value? You can always set a value, and then no one says anything, come back. So I don't know if you want to rely on your assessor to set the values for those. If she says, if we can get it back on the tax rolls for $1, but I would leave that up to you. So that's one of the questions. The last piece that you actually foreclosed on, I would recommend you don't do anything with. It's behind Warren Heights, and it's actually, I think, where they're putting in the pump station
Oh,
now.
right.
So you actually own a piece now, so it's less of easements you may need in the future. So I wouldn't do anything with that one. And then the two more complicated ones are 100 South 8th Street
Mhm.
is a corner lot, and if you drive by right now, it looks like someone's yard. It's not. It's owned by the township. It is about 7,500 to 8,000 square feet currently. The minimum lot size in this neighborhood is 9,000 square feet. So Mr. Sturban said we could get a variance and sell it as a building lot, which could actually have some great potential for income for the township. So I would ask that if you're interested in that, authorizing Mr. Sturbans to start the process for doing that, because he's got to get paperwork together in order to come before the board to take care of that one. The last one is off of Puddingstone Way, is actually in the rear. It's, let me find it on the map. It has road frontage on Buckley Hill Road. It's right next to the school's property.
Mhm.
It is 7.56 acres. This was foreclosed on by the developer. Paramec owned this, and we foreclosed on it. The developer is deceased. So it has road frontage, but the back of it is wet. So there's a lot of it you're not going to be able to do anything with. So I would just ask that you authorize Mr. Sturbans to take a look at it.
Mhm.
We are believing that perhaps the 200 foot of road frontage, you might be able to get a building lot in before it gets too wet. Also, I believe the school in the past has asked, they've had some interest in it, that maybe for some sort of nature hiking something. Of course, that doesn't go on the tax rolls if you give it to the township. But actually, if you look at the map, all those places I pointed the arrows, those are also owned by the township. So it might be something to look into. But I thought we'd start with Paul to just tell us if we can even build on this piece. If we can't build on it, and then you kind of, but if you could get a building lot, and then you feel better about giving the rest away.
Right.
So those are, and the last one is a doozy. It's there's a house on it, and they had a squatter on it for the longest time. It is surrounded by Baker Chemical, Aqua, the Warren County property, and Norfolk Southern Railroad. It has a lot of people who go down there and party and beer cans, and we've had a lot of trouble with enforcing. A couple of years ago, we got authorization from Norfolk Southern to allow the police to go down there. So there is a house down there. So it is still a lot with a house on it. So that one you could just auction off as a building. I don't know if someone's probably gonna have to tear that thing down, but at least there's already a house. So that one I would say we'll just put that on the auction list when we get the other one. And then what I would recommend is that if any of these don't get sold to the adjacent property owners, we set the auction out far enough that all of the other properties would also be added on the auction list. You auction them off, and sometimes people, and if I find any, if I talk to Paul, perhaps the state of New Jersey Green Acres might be interested in something, again, that comes off the tax rolls, but if they pay for it, Harmony Township had a piece, I can tell you, it was 5 acres. They were about to sell it to a gentleman for $1,000 because no one wanted it. It was wet. Then he realized it was wet, even though we told him 10 times it was wet, and he wanted to renege, and we let him out because we realized he'd made a mistake. The state of New Jersey gave us $20,000 for it because it was adjacent to other town state property, and they were interested. At first, they offered us $80,000, and then they said, 20. So we thought we really hit the jackpot. But so it's always worth it. So that's why I want to let Paul take a look at some of these. Like we said, we can get Merrill Creek to buy the one off of Fox Farm. That would probably be a good deal too. They're always looking to increase their property. So I would just ask for the authorization to work with Paul, to work with Kathy, and kind of come forward. Nothing. What I can do is I can work with Kathy and get her to give me the list of what we would ask for these properties before I send any letters to anyone. You can see the list of Kathy said it's worth this. That way, if you have any questions, you can say wait about that. So
all right,
I would just ask.
Just make a motion for you to work with Kathy and Paul and authorize Paul. So
how does the auction process work?
It is a open public auction. Typically, we do it a live auction where people actually come in and bid. That you can do it by closed sealed bids, which still get open in the public. But these kind of, it's usually because you have so many, you just set a date and everyone comes in and does it. We've done it in Washington Township, Harmony.
So where do you do it? Like in the municipal building?
Okay. Yeah, and depending on what kind of properties we have, because some of them, if we have an actual building lot, you may even do it on a Saturday because you want. You know, people that are actually going to bid on it. And in that case, if you get one like that, you may even contemplate hiring someone to auction it
Okay.
for you, like a Max Stan or a
Mhm.
Fiedler. What they do is they add usually a 10% fee on the purchase price. So if someone offers
Right.
$100,000, it's really $110,000. So the town isn't paying for it. The
The
person
buyer
might
is
offer
buying it.
less because of that. But Washington Township did that when they sold their old municipal building property, and they had another piece. They did it that, I think actually eventually though they did it themselves. But you can auction it as many times. If no one bids, you can come back and auction it next month. You can keep doing it. It's just, but if you have a decent piece of property, because if you hire an auction company, they send out those flyers with the maps and things like that. So we'll see what we have to offer. If
Okay.
it's, most of these are, if you look at them, they're
Mhm.
tiny little pieces of, someone did a subdivision somewhere and accidentally put the line in the wrong way, and a little driveway from architects got chopped off 2 places.
Right.
That one off of Belvedere Road, I don't know how that happened. That one's just in the middle of nowhere. So
Mhm.
advertising for those isn't going to do much good other than the people who are right there.
Right. Okay.
All right, so let's make a motion for you to work with Kathy and authorize Paul to look into some of these properties.
Motion?
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Belcarro?
Yes.
Councilwoman McVeigh?
Yes.
Council President Trump?
Yes. All right. Next one, we need to authorize the payment of interest on the tax court judgment for Bellevue Crossings in the amount of $16,631.66. We need to introduce an emergency appropriation to do so.
That's correct.
If you want to.
Yeah. This is the tax court judgment that we got for Bellevue Crossing, the 32 lots for 2010 and 2011. We paid the overpayment of taxes, which was about $89,000. We paid that a while ago through the bond that we borrowed. Unfortunately, when the tax court enters a judgment, as opposed to you settling your case, they require interest of 5% per year. So because it's for 2010 and 2011, they make you go back to then. The reason we hadn't paid it sooner is we were working on a settlement, trying to make it a global settlement. Part of the deal was going to be if they settled on new values going forward, they would waive the $16,000. They have grown impatient with the settlement process and are demanding their $16,000. So they are entitled to it under the law. They should have gotten it a while ago. So that's why we're asking for payment now. And also, I'm going to attempt to negotiate a
Great.
credit. If I can get a credit on taxes future, that's much better. Then we'll cancel at the next meeting the appropriation.
Any questions from council? Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Belcarro?
Yes.
Councilwoman McVeigh?
Yes.
Council President Trump?
Yes. All right, the next one, we need to establish pay rates for our seasonal workers. This includes DPW leaf pickup and also snow plowing for the upcoming seasons. We were looking to do $20 an hour for appropriately eligible workers, correct? They need to have their CDL. Okay. Any discussion from council?
We were discussing that the current rate is about 15, so I guess we have a problem finding people that are qualified, and now the rate's 20. So we only need to hire them for a couple of weeks, or how long?
For leaves, just a couple weeks.
Mhm.
December, 6 weeks.
Snow plowing is as needed.
And that's different, so that would be a different fee, rate, or?
No, we're looking to do same rate.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. All right.
Which is still quite a savings over having overtime for
Right.
our employees, correct? Yeah.
And it's as needed, obviously.
Mhm.
It's towards- okay.
Yeah. And if they don't need to bring them in, they won't bring anybody. Any other comment? Motion?
Actually, I do. I have one. I just wanted to let everybody know putting this to $20 an hour brings us, it's one person we're looking for. So we only need one person for this job. So it's $20 for an hour for one person for this entire leaf season, which will bring it to about $640 a week, which will be about $3,000 for the leaf season to hire this person to do that. So just so everybody's aware of the cost.
How many hours are you calculating that on? And how many hours a day?
7,
7.5.
37.5.
75,
75 a paycheck? That's what I see.
So that's not as needed, that's, we're hiring them.
So they're a paycheck.
Talk about it. Bring in different hours, or whatever, but that doesn't work because the machine needs it all day long.
Right.
All right, you know what I mean? You need 4 people to run the machine, want to run the street sweeper, carry the rest of the town. All right, so if I shut them down, I have to shut them down an hour, go back, get everything, then go back out. We've lost our manpower. So we need them that extra bit, just to keep things moving.
So if you're saying 75 hours a paycheck times 15 is 1,125, and you're saying 6 weeks?
That's around where leaf season is.
Okay,
Somewhere
so
in that
times
range.
3 paychecks, well, how many paychecks is that?
We run till the snow hits, until the bulk of it's gone.
So that'd be 3,375 at the rate of $15. And 75 times 20. New pay, their new biweekly paycheck is 1,500 times 3. Actually comes to 4,500. So it's about an increase of 3,375. About $1,125.
Yeah, but it.
You have enough in your
over what
budget?
it would have been.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just over. Yeah. And you have enough in your budget? Okay.
I don't do salary and wages.
And that's for the leaves, and now for snow, you guys do as much as you can handle, and then you bring them in.
When it comes to snow, we usually try to handle as best we can with the salt. All right, and then keep the big trucks running and everything. When it comes to putting the plow on the blade around, all right, your object is to get every truck moving
Right.
at the cheapest price we can. All right, because once you put me on overtime, it's different than putting a guy in the truck on overtime.
Right.
All right, on no overtime.
Right.
So the object is to get as many in and get them done and get out before the hours accumulate.
Okay.
And that's how we've always done it, right, Betty?
Right.
And bad things. All right, we've sat down, we try to do it as cheap as we can, as fast as we can, and as safe as we can. So,
And they all have to have their CDL license, correct?
well, that's.
And they use our trucks?
Yeah, they have to have the CDL for what I mean? It also enables us at any time if we do something wrong, we can set up for a drug test.
Okay.
So it protects the town, so it's doing, what I mean? It's not just a random walk in, see you,
Right.
yeah.
If we had to hire somebody like, like a landscaping company, like how much would that run us?
They're about $125 an hour.
Okay.
All right,
All right.
and then it goes on, depending on what piece of equipment, it can go up to $200 an hour.
Right, because they're using their own equipment, correct?
They're using their equipment, they're gonna make a million. I know we used a 1 year Betty way back, Steve was here.
Yeah.
It cost us.
I did it one time when I first started.
You couldn't afford it.
And-
No. Yeah.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? You were spending $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a storm just for them alone,
Okay, so thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Brian.
I just want to clear this up. So the 640 a week that we were talking about in the $3,000 total, that's not,
We might have based
4
it on
days?
4 days.
Okay.
Because on average, you might not have a full week, with everybody going off for hunting season and this and that.
okay, so now it's 5. So now the 3,000 that I said is not, it's about 4,500.
Yeah, for that.
Yeah.
For a full week.
Most of it.
And do we
The most
decide,
it would be
That
45.
would be the most.
Mhm.
and
Yeah, we're basing on that.
do we decide if there's a 3-day, if they're wheeling in for 3 days that week, that's all we use them for? Is that how this works?
Yeah, it's part-time.
It doesn't stop.
Okay.
Once it starts, I can take a look at it. Once it starts, it starts.
If he doesn't have the manpower though, the guy will be called in.
Okay, so guaranteed it's 5 days a week.
That's all it is.
At most.
Okay, per Brian, it's 5 days a week. Okay, so $4,500. Okay,
Right, at most. Because if it's a bad weather day, he's not going to call him in. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, hunters. Motion?
Motion,
Second?
Second,
Roll call?
Councilwoman Schneider?
yes.
Councilman Belcarra?
Yes.
Councilwoman McKay?
yes.
And Councilman Smith.
Yes. Okay, now, the next item we have, we're actually A hardship waiver was requested from us for a COA property in Overlook. However, what we're going to do is we have some time before we have to issue that hardship waiver. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to, one of the options we can do is help them advertise this property. So we're going to put something out on our website and our Facebook page. Katrina's going to get the exact information of the unit, the size, whether it's low income or moderate. And then at our next meeting, we're going to, if we hadn't had any takers, if they haven't had any takers, then we can issue the hardship waiver to them.
It's 98 Overlook.
98 Overlook.
We're just not sure if it's low or moderate
Mhm.
income and how many bedrooms or bathrooms it has. Because low or moderate would depend on the income level for the
Right.
people.
Like if it's low, they can only sell to low, and if they have no low buyers coming in, then they ask for the hardship waiver so they can open it up to moderate. I guess we can make a motion just to advertise it and then discuss, vote on the hardship waiver at the next meeting. Motion? Motion. Second?
Second.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Delcaro?
Yes.
Councilwoman McLean?
Yes.
And Council President Joseph.
Yes. All right, next. The interlock. Yeah, I have. Okay, we want to make a motion to join an interlocal co-op, which I have it here somewhere. It is the HGAC by co-op. It's just yet another co-op that we can enter into to make purchases at much cheaper prices. It's similar to the Morris County co-op. Does anyone have any questions?
This, we're entering this for the purpose of purchasing the fire truck, is that correct?
And
Use
other,
it for other things, but
yeah, we can
So
use that
that's
for
the
other
main
things.
reason for, okay.
More co-ops are in, the more money we can save. Anybody else have any questions?
No.
Motion?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Schneider?
I have to say no, only because I said no to the fire truck. So in essence, this is for the fire truck, so I would have to say no for that.
Councilman Delcaro?
Yes.
Councilwoman McLean?
Yes.
Council President Joseph.
Yes. All right, I have field use contract out. We introduced fees for our fields. I'll do two parts, and we have a contract now that has been approved, looked at by our attorney, and we just want to make it official so we can post it on the website. People can download it, fill it out, and bring it in if they want to rent the field. Do you have any questions from council? Do you have a motion?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Delcaro?
Yes.
Councilwoman McLean?
Yes.
Council President Joseph.
Yes, and then the next part of that is we had issued a resolution, I believe back in June, that went over the fees for the fields. And what I did is basically it's the same resolution. I just added an item. Groups run by township volunteers will receive a 50% discount off of the calculated fee rates. It states if a group is run by a township volunteer or volunteers, and that group is assessed a fee for field usage, that group will receive a 50% discount off of the calculated fee rates as outlined in section 1 and 2 of this resolution. That we did because throughout the township, we offer our volunteers, because we respect and regard them very highly. We offer them discounts on everything else, from their pool memberships to attendance and all that. And we wanted to do the same because we're finding that we do have a lot of our volunteers are extending themselves beyond their regular season, and now they're running travel teams and stuff for the Lopatcong children. And since it's not actually under the LAA yet, it's our LAA directors and our LAA coaches doing it. We wanted to offer the same thing if like the firemen or the EMS were to run something like that.
So you're basically talking about, like you said, fire, EMS, and you're talking about people that volunteer to coach
Coaches.
and to, okay.
And any of our directors.
Okay, and is there any other volunteer, if there's another volunteer group that maybe we're not sure of right now, that applies also?
If we, like, a member of the planning board wants to run
Right.
an event or
Yeah,
something.
anybody who's involved in the township that does not get paid.
Okay,
Volunteer position.
okay.
Because we do that now. They get half off of pool membership and other things like that. Which probably isn't even enough at this point for what they do, but Any other questions?
Nope.
Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Belcarro.
Yes.
Councilman McKee.
Yes.
Yes. All right, let me make sure I got everything. Okay, we have some meeting date changes because of some things we need to do. We have another meeting, a special meeting, which will be held on October 27th. That is a Monday at 4 p.m. And then our November meeting will be moved to November 19th, executive starting at 7, regular session starting at 7:30. So again, that's October 27th at 4 and November 19th at 7. And there's no November 5th meeting.
For the October 27th meeting, in case anyone's kind of wondering why, it's mostly because we had a few additional questions for the CBA agreement, which we said we talked about in executive. There was just one more question on there that we couldn't get answered tonight, so that's basically the reason for having the special meeting. There may be a couple other things added to it, but it's mostly because of the bargaining agreement.
And that's it. So we can open up public comment.
Joe Imhoff, 240 Aurora Street in the township. It's been said before that most congressmen on both sides of the aisles go to school for 3 years learning to win an argument with no regard for the truth. It's always been my hope that the truth would prevail amongst the leadership in Lopatcong Township, and yet this afternoon I need to make some statements about a discussion that was held at the last council meeting on October 1st. Mayor Steinhardt said that he invited me to that meeting. That is like saying he invited Governor Christie to that meeting. On September 3rd at that meeting, he simply said that he would respond to questions that I had asked at that meeting during the next council meeting. I received no personal invitation from Mayor Steinhardt to attend the October 1st meeting. Then the reason given by him for my absence at this last meeting was that I had chosen not to show my face at this meeting because, again, I had misrepresented the facts. Let me remind council that my question regarding the municipal portions increase in my property tax bill was based on fact, a 143% increase over a 9-year period. This was taken directly from my tax bill and would be confirmed by each of your tax bills. I had prepared a statement to be read at that meeting, but it never came to the floor. It stated that I was certain the mayor would talk about assessments and how this was the reason for the huge increase, and never take into account that both the county and the school tax increases were minimal over that same 9-year period. Well, I called it right. But I am sure you realize that both your property taxes are paid and township bills are paid in real dollars and not in assessment figures. I would be willing to sit down with any of you to discuss the negative impact that not telling the truth will have on this township. And I would encourage any of you who would be tempted to stray from the truth in dealing with members of this community to leave now, thereby preserving any good reputation you might have, and also maintaining the integrity that Lopatcong Township has known in the past. And thank you. We did have a wonderful visit with my son and his family in Indiana. We went to soccer games and volleyball games and got out on Joe's boat from September 24th until October 5th, which was the real reason that I missed the meeting. On another note, I am concerned about the yard cleanup appreciation day that is scheduled for next Saturday. scheduled far in advance of the leaf falling season, according to both the New Jersey State websites, the Weather Channel, and also way ahead on the front end of the Lopatcong 2014 leaf pickup schedule that I have here. Of course, I sort of believe this is nothing more than a grandstanding event. We've heard that term before in council meetings, just 10 days prior to the election for mayor on November 4th. This is another area where we as residents of Lopatcong need to demand the truth. If this is a political event, then those who are participating must be told what it is. It also must be funded privately and not have access to township personnel and equipment. I would also like to know how the township is protected should one of the minors, whether they are members of the LAA or not, or even one of the adults, is injured either on private property or in vehicles during their participation in the event. And finally, at least 3 of you have been elected to office talking about transparency. Has anything happened in the township since April 26th, almost 6 months ago, which is the date of the last posting to Council Corner on the township website? And while we're talking about that and transparency, what about planning board minutes that haven't been posted since the summer of 2013? I look forward to your responses. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
I have, I'll respond to a couple of those things. As I said in the last meeting, dollars are dollars. You can't dispute the dollars. And my taxes as well. 2003, my local portion of taxes was $872. 2014, my local portion of my taxes are $2,421.82. That's a 178% increase. How it got there is a question, but the dollars are the dollars, and it's 178% of the dollars. I did a little bit of looking around, and I know last month or last meeting, Mayor Steinhardt said that we had energy receipt tax that took a dive and we didn't get that money, and it's actually not the case. We had a little bit of a dip from 2009 to 2010. It went from $1,139,037 down to $948,271. That number stayed constant up until now. So the number has been, we've been receiving the same funding for that. And as I expressed last time, the assessed values that Mayor Steinhardt did bring up also have nothing to do with the reason my taxes are up 178%. So I do agree with Mr. Imhoff that that is the case. And the school managed to keep theirs down, and so did the county. What I have is, looks like the school went up in that same time period 24%. And in the county area, it went up 40%. We went up 178%. So there's a problem there. We need to fix that problem, and the only way to stop that is to stop spending. As far as the leaf cleanup, council wasn't made aware of that leaf cleanup, so I don't.
The last meeting.
The fall leaf cleanup that he's talking about?
Yeah. The LAA. I brought it up during the comment.
Oh, okay.
I brought it up at the LAA meeting.
I didn't hear that part, but I don't know anything about the insurance or any of that information, or the safety, or I can't answer that, Joe. As far as anything else, I tried to be very transparent. I tried to bring things to light. I tried to get these things out in the open. So I'm sorry that you were the things that were said last meeting were said without your presence here. And I would have hoped that would have waited until you were present at a meeting, or at least to give you a phone call. So I'm sorry for that.
Any other comments?
Olszewski, Highlands Way. Two things. I'm not sure, I may have missed it, but I believe one of the properties which you mentioned, did we not offer that to some nonprofit agency to build a house for veterans?
We're checking to make sure that none of those are on the list. That was a discussion that we had that I didn't bring up in open. We talked about it in closed
Okay.
session. Currently, all of those properties are listed as owned by the Township of Lopatcong still, but that's the first thing I'm doing.
I understand, but
Checking to make sure we didn't offer it
I think,
already.
was there not a vote on it that we would give that away to?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If we did, we're just
Yeah.
making sure that's not the property.
Okay,
We just made a motion for her to research it.
okay, great.
No, we are aware of that, Doug.
Joe brought up an excellent point, because I was going to participate in the cleanup, of course, saw my children. A question of how the insurance is handled, I think should be answered. Thank you for the comment. It's probably not sufficient at this point in time, but people are wondering about it.
Mr. Imhoff would have called the municipal building and asked that question. We could have had that paperwork here. I'm sure he didn't think of that question when he walked up here, so Beth will get it to him tomorrow.
Okay, how will you get the answer to the residents before?
They can call and ask.
Okay, maybe not everybody is aware that they may or may not be insured when they participate.
And that's not the case. The township has insurance.
So have you guys, but you guys have researched that, and that is all taken care of, right? And you guys spoke a lot about COA this meeting. The relationship with COA at this point in time is what? Everything is on the up and up?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys, appreciate it.
Any other comments? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ellen.
Ran Yellow, Linda Road. Last meeting, I brought up about the weapons, the new weapons that were taken. I checked with Mr. Barone, and to his acknowledgement, he never did get a thank you letter. I will, that's just what I want you to say. Also,
Fran, you can ask Jim Mangucci. He requested a letter
Yeah.
that was written to him, so.
okay, well, I'm just telling you what, but I also wanted you to know, and I did last month, that this gentleman and his wife are willing to help the township out anyway.
Okay,
You have a good thing going here.
right,
He's very dedicated, so something to think about. Thank you
Okay.
goes a long way.
right.
Also, if it was up to me, and I don't know if it's legal or not, the police officers were asked if they wanted to buy their weapons.
Right.
For $250, whatever it is, something like
was
that.
very-
Wouldn't it be a nice gesture just to give them to them?
I
Legally,
definitely would. We
could
would
you-
have to,
Why couldn't
I don't
you
know
just,
if we legally could, but we could look into it.
so it's just something to look
Yeah.
into. I mean, it would be, you had the weapons in the holster donated anyway. So,
Mhm.
just something to look into, that police
I
officers
appreciate
get a
that.
chance to
Mhm.
get their weapons back and don't have to, pay. If they have to pay something, then
Right.
something, but
We can look into
Okay.
that. Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I
Anyone
also,
else? Hold on.
okay.
Anyone else?
Um,
All right, there's nothing else. There's no council reports today.
Just a quick thing that actually piggybacks off of Mr. Imhoff. March 11th, again, meeting minutes and video.
No, they're on
not
there.
up. Nope, they're not up.
No, the minutes are, the video is not.
When were the minutes put up?
The minutes were put up today.
Today.
Yeah,
What?
I'm
Okay.
sorry, Donna, remember, I'm doing this as a volunteer. It'd
Yeah,
be nice if you
yeah.
could appreciate it. My whole family comes first, so their use of the computer comes first.
Yep. Well, everything else has been put up. So,
No, it hasn't. I'm behind on some other things that you don't realize.
well, yeah, planning board and those things.
I don't have
Mr.
those
Imhoff
minutes.
said. Where are those minutes?
They haven't been posted. It's up to the planning board. You can go to the planning board meeting and ask them.
In a year?
Which month are we missing?
The entire year? What did you say, Mr. Imhoff? How many when was the last time planning board minutes were
I
posted?
believe last summer of 2013.
Minutes? No, it's even longer. Yes, the planning board.
So Do we know why they're not posted?
Let's talk to the planning board.
What was that?
We both, we don't have a site.
It's on the
You have to send it to
township
us, but
website.
I haven't received any.
Who's responsible for doing it?
I don't know. Who is responsible for doing that? Do we know?
Yeah, could you just look into that?
Look into that. Work with planning.
Yeah.
I think there's a miscommunication.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So, thank you. The March 11th minutes are up. The video is not up.
But I'm sure you appreciate I do it for free and actually pay for the LAA site
Yeah,
myself.
well, you know what? Sometimes there are things that need to be done
Right,
for
I'll get it
others,
to them.
and this
Mhm.
needed to be done before some other things.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yeah, I'm probably gonna leave them.